The Mercedes GLC flies peculiarly under the radar. You don't hear much about it, it's not a household name like the BMW X3 for instance, yet Mercedes managed to sell over 2.6 million examples of the GLC since it was launched in 2008.
So while the GLC has gone about its business fairly quietly, it has been really a raging success for Mercedes, and it's very important that this third generation model continues that. So the upgrades are actually quite a lot more substantial than the quite subtle style tweaks suggest. Underneath, the platform is quite a bit longer, it's a bit stiffer. The car overall is 60mm longer, and that has all meant that they can now get mild hybrid and plug-in hybrid powertrains into the GLC. Plus, there's a bit more passenger and boot space as well. You've got a variety of 2-litre petrol or diesel turbocharged engines, all mild hybrid, with 48-volt electrics. Plus, you have got two plug-in hybrids, the petrol 300e that we've got here, or there's a diesel option. Now this 300e, well, that's got a whopping 308 brake horsepower, plus it gets the 31.2 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery that both the plug-in hybrid GLCs get, and that gives it an official electric range of up to 75 miles. This car's actually showing a real-world range of 69 miles on electric running only, despite it being really cold. So that's quite impressive. And interestingly, Mercedes is offering this as a diesel plug-in hybrid, which I think is a really good thing because nobody else does. And I think, to me, it makes a lot of sense to have a diesel and electric running if you really do want the best efficiency out of your car.
Prices for the Mercedes GLC run from around about £52,000 for the 220D up to £62,000 and up for the GLC 300e plug-in hybrid, or those prices do even stretch up to over £70,000 if you go for the higher spec trim level. The diesel plug-in hybrid GLC is set to join the UK range in 2023 and will cost a very similar amount to the GLC 300e petrol.
So as for the boot practicality in the GLC, well, this is the plug-in hybrid, and as is often the case with plug-in hybrids, the compromise is in the boot space because the batteries underneath here, you can see this sort of slopes up a bit. They take up a huge amount of space, so there's virtually no storage under there at all. There's a tiny little bit there for your first aid kit and a warning triangle. Certainly not enough room for your cables, which have to hang about here in this case here. And ultimately you only get 400 litres of boot space. It's quite shallow too. So that is the big compromise that you make for having such a long electric range. For some family motorists, that probably is actually going to be a problem, I think. If you go for a standard GLC, for one of the mild hybrids, you actually get 600 litres of space. It's 200 litres more space, which is a massive difference and much more in line with what you'd expect from a car that's rivaling stuff like, the Audi Q3, BMW X3, Lexus NX, all of those things. They should be really good family cars, and that's one area where this really does disappoint.
There is loads of rear seat space in the GLC, so even taller adults will be comfortable in terms of legroom and headroom, even if you've got the panoramic glass roof. There's also a centre armrest with cup holders, and there's climate control in the back if you go for the top spec model. But there are no charging points in the back, which seems like a big oversight.
As for equipment in the GLC, well, you do get pretty much what you're going to want on the standard car, which is the AMG line. So you get your wireless phone charging, LED headlights outside, you get your 19-inch alloy wheels, ambient lighting. You do kind of get what you want really, but I still think most people are going to step up to the premium line version because that gets you your keyless entry, it gets you a 360-degree parking camera, blind spot warning, and quite a bit more that I think people are going to want. Step up again from that, and to be honest, you are looking at a big price jump, but you do also get the glass roof, the Burmester sound system, all those kind of luxuries that a lot of people are kind of going to want in a car like this. The head-up display as well too, which is quite a desirable thing. You do get this touchscreen as standard on every car, and it is really good. I have to say, it responds really quickly. I will even forgive it for having the climate control in the screen because they're always visible, so a bit sort of Tesla-like in that no matter what you're doing on your media screen here, you can always adjust the aircon. You've got all the features that you expect, your wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, your nav, Bluetooth, all of that. So it does everything that you expect, and I think the graphics and the usability, this is actually one of the best systems out there.
Unfortunately, the GLC does not get rapid charging in the UK as it does in some European markets. Instead, the fastest charge that you'll get is an 11 kilowatt charge from a 3-phase AC charger, which is quite rare in the UK. Instead, most owners will have to settle for a 7 kilowatt charge from a standard home wall box, which will fully charge the GLC 300e in around about 3 hours.
So I'm going to start by talking about the interior of the car because we talked about equipment and the infotainment, which I like. The actual finish and the sort of look of the interior in the GLC I think is really classy. I think Mercedes are doing really well with that at the moment. A lot of this actually is quite recognisable from the E-Class and the EQE, so it's really, you know, it's up there, it's properly classy stuff. I like these vents, I think everything feels really well built. This steering wheel looks really cool with the sort of twin spokes here with your controls on it. There's a lot of stuff to faff about with on there, from your voice control to your volume to your phone and your climate and your screens and all of that. So it is touch sensitive too, but I have to say Mercedes seem to make the only touch sensitive steering wheel out there that I don't accidentally keep hitting and kind of activating things. So maybe I'm a little disappointed with the fact that it's not a bit sportier, because it's 308 brake horsepower, this plug-in hybrid, 0 to 62 in under 7 seconds, 4-wheel drive as standard, and I just think a lot of people are going to go into it thinking it's going to be like a really cool, sporty, fun drive. It's not really, because one of the big problems with PHEVs is that you do get the additional weight of those batteries, especially when it's a big battery like this. You're talking about an extra 300 kilos or so over the standard mild hybrid petrol and diesel cars. And that means you're looking at well over 2 tons for this car. So it's fairly big, and you do feel that weight. It feels more than confident, it's stoic, it's really neutral in the way it goes around a corner. It just doesn't feel terribly exciting or encouraging, and I get that, that's fine. But don't expect it to be a sports SUV, is all I'm trying to say. That weight does impact a bit on the ride comfort, and our test car is also on 20-inch wheels. It's mostly just at low speeds, and it just picks up a little bit of the sort of sharper edge potholes and bumps and things in the road. I do think going for the standard 19-inch wheels that you get on lower trims would probably really help. But it's really the weight of the car that kind of gives it that slightly kind of reactive ride comfort at lower speeds. So that could be a little bit better. But otherwise, this is a really, really relaxed, quiet, chilled cruiser, especially in electric mode, which obviously, hopefully, you're going to spend most of your time in, given the long range that this car's got. I think that's the really good thing about it. And the other good thing about these kind of long range PHEVs is that they're really good options for people who want to tow. This car can actually tow up to 2 tons, which is not bad at all. It's kind of up there with a lot of the comparable diesels as well. And yet, of course, you've got that really good electric running too. So it's a good compromise if you do tow caravans or horse boxes or whatever. It's really it's that electric range, isn't it, with the plug-in hybrids? That's what's going to really sell it, because there's not really a lot else out there that gets close to it for that electric range. The Lexus NX being a good option as well if you don't really want a plug-in car, but you do want good efficiency and you don't want a diesel. Those kind of full hybrids, and also the plug-in hybrid that you can now get in the Lexus, that's actually a really decent option too. So there are some really good rivals to the Mercedes out there. There's a lot of options, but it's really about that long range, isn't it? That's what really sets the Mercedes apart, and you can see why. There's not really anything else that touches it for that. And so really it comes down to the real world efficiency.
We always say that it's best to consider a plug-in hybrid in terms of how far it goes on battery power and then what economy you get thereafter, rather than looking at the wildly misleading economy figures that the official WLTP tests turn out. In the 300e, expect to see around 55 to 60 miles in cold weather, or we had such good results that we would expect to see some 70 miles in warmer weather.
Don't forget, you can be spending £70,000 or more on this plug-in hybrid GLC. Do think about the pure electric alternatives as well, because by the time you get up to that sort of price, you're looking at Jaguar I-Pace, you're looking at, you know, Audi e-trons and things, and there's a lot of pure electric cars up there that could potentially be more efficient in the long run if you don't need that petrol engine. But I can completely understand and sympathise with people who do want long electric range like this. That means, you know, hopefully 90% of the time you're going to be using pure electric power, which is great, and then you get the petrol engine to keep you going. I do wish that this did have the DC fast charging that this car does in Europe. I think it's a bit foolish that Mercedes haven't included that. But apart from that, I think this is a really good option if you're after a big plug-in hybrid family SUV.
Don't forget to head to cargurus.co.uk for a whole host of fantastic used cars. We will even tell you if it's a good deal or not. And while we've got you, please do like the video, subscribe to the CarGurus UK YouTube channel, and turn your notifications on. Ring that bell so that you don't miss any of our videos.